federal government is full disclosure. We know what we're seeing, and there are so many of us. We're not
As I gaze upon the annals of time, one thing that comes through: we are not alone in this universe. It's a thought that rings true. Ancient cave dwellers drew spacecraft on the walls. It's a recurring theme. I've seen the same thing while walking late at night, and I know it's not a dream.
From Maelstrom to Manat, Boston to LA, there are people asking questions and they will not go away. But what has been seen might not be what it seems. The government's shadows dance in the sea.
If you tell the truth, they will ridicule everything you say and do. It's all part of a deception. It's a puppet master's tool. And I've seen those craft shut down up to silos from 10 miles away. And there ain't nothing that the Pentagon can do. They can't make them go away.
From Maelstrom to Manat, Boston to LA, there are people asking questions and they will not go away. But what has been seen might not be what it seems. The government's shadows dance in the sea. From Maelstrom to Manat, New York to LA, you can't get the picture if they're pale or they're gray. But what we have seen might not be what it seems when the government's shadows dance in the sea.
The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades, here's your host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me, and I'll tell you, that thunder, wow, it is so bad. Well, it depends, I guess, where you're at. I tell you one thing, my heart goes out to people in the Bahamas and people in Florida. I don't know, earth changes. A lot of things are going on. Well, our intro music is by a group called Metatron Power And Light. The lead singer is Tom Davis. He'll be on my show here on the second hour. We're going to be talking about what creative music he writes, for the band. It seems to be, conspiracy, UFOs, and things like that. And my co-host here for the first hour is James Kirschbaum. James, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you doing tonight, Gary?
Well, I'll tell you, in all my years of broadcasting, James, I'll tell you today, something clicked. I don't know what is going on, but it started with a lot of emails. It started coming yesterday, but I didn't bother reading them. And guess what? It appears I got some major guests lined up starting, next week, and then going on all the way to the end of September into October. But that isn't the great news. There's something my agent kept messaging me about today, and I had a talk with a man today. about my show, and it could be on massive, I'll be on massive radio stations here coming in October, for maybe like 4 hours. So that is going to be a big change for me, but I can't say anything more. I have it all, in writing. I got the emails, I got the phone calls, but I can't wait for that to happen.
That is great news. And hey, that's a win-win. And I'm happy for you, Gary. Good for you, especially after the two and a half months you spent laid up and beat up and goat beating on you and all the bad stuff. You deserve it. Good for you, buddy.
Well, I'll tell you, anything is better than being in bed. And today I even broke another thing. I'm getting to a point where I can stand in the walker for a couple minutes. I still don't want to push walking with the walker because I don't feel my legs are strong enough after being, in the bed for about 2.5 months. But I'm working on exercising the legs every day, but I'm finding I'm able to get around the whole house now. I got the energy to get over the little floor dividers, separating the rooms. I can do that now. I'm totally getting self-sufficient, which means my diet might not be going as a diet because, that refrigerator looked really interesting when I could open it up today because up to now I haven't been able to get into the kitchen at all.
Oh, I could just see you. Your first goal to get to that refrigerator and open it up. But you don't want to go backwards, so, it's okay to cheat a little bit. You deserve it. I mean, you've been laid up for 2 months, but I'm proud of you, man. You've come a long way. Well,
thank you. And I have, physically and emotionally. I'll tell you, I went for your state, and I don't go around broadcasting it, but I'm going to. The first couple of weeks laying in bed, I could handle it because I was in a lot of pain, and I was on pain medication. And then one day I woke up and the depression set in. And, if I could have walked, I would have got over and got to my gun, and I would have ended it. But I couldn't get to my gun, so that saved me, and I'm still here. But I'll tell you, it was the worst depression I've ever had in my entire life. I sat there, and all I could see is my life being, confined in a bed and going nowhere. And you know what? It's nice sometimes to lay in a bed for a day to, ever great so often. But when you're in bed for a month or 2 months or 2.5 months, like in my case, it was over 2 months, I tell you, things go in your mind and it scares you. Thank God that passed, because if it wasn't for you being my friend, I don't think I'd be here right now.
Oh, let me tell you something. I am so thankful that did pass, and you made it through. Listen, you could always, from this point on, go back. Something happens, you can look back and say, you know what? I made it through probably one of the roughest times of my life. I can get through this, whatever else comes at you in your life. And I'm happy you didn't get to that damn wherever your gun was or whatever it was. But thank God you're still here. And you've got a lot of listeners, and you got a lot more listeners that are going to be finding you out, listening to you. And you got great guests coming up, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I tell you what, I was in depression when I was in the rice paddies when I was young. Like when I was in my 18s and 19 years old, I was overseas, walking in rice paddies and all that stuff. And I tell you, that was scary. But I tell you this, when you're confined to a bedroom, I tell you, it's like being locked up in a prison. Trust me. But anyway, let's get out of that because that's all darkness. I just want to say this. In the past, the Earth orbit shifted numerous times, and they have now figured maybe that caused global warming back at that early stages of the Earth, which then created life. But could this happen again where our Earth shifts, and instead of going into a global warming, we could go into a deep freeze?
Well, yeah, I think it's happened a few times that the tectonic plates shift and things shift. And I can tell you this much, that just the plates or whatever shifting just a little bit causes all kinds of havoc. So if that was to shift a whole lot, you couldn't imagine the tidal waves and it would just be awful.
Well, this was the whole Earth. It kind of had a little change in the orbit of the Earth. And that's what caused the global warming. Now, the Earth, they're saying now it's kind of, wobbling and maybe working on changing its, orbit a little bit. Who knows what that could cause? And then over the weekend, there was a loud boom reported in all across central New York. people were calling up their police, calling up the military, calling up the Air Force and the control towers, saying they heard a major explosion. Well, it came down. They had a major, large fireball, coming in from the outer space and hitting our atmosphere. But it was enough where it was rattling windows, and it could be heard all over most of the New York.
So was that a big meteorite then? Is that what it was, you think?
Well, all they said it was a large Earth fireball. Now, that would be something that's coming in and burning up, but it would have to be pretty big to create an explosion.
Well, the thing is, there's millions of pieces of space junk just floating around out there, just waiting to someday fall or whatever.
Yeah, I sure hate to have part of the old Russian space, whatever, come down and come through my roof of the house. I don't know. And then there's been some sightings. It kind of like shocked NASA. And these sightings are in weird places. It's been coming up here in the last few days. Well, Google Maps showed a 33-meter wide alien spacecraft hovering over Area 51.
Now, you know what? Who's to say that it's alien? Maybe it's ours. Maybe it's one of the experimental crafts that they're working on out there. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's too much. I mean, there may be some alien technology out there, but I think it's more of our black ops, military stuff, experiment and stuff like that out there nowadays, I think. My opinion.
Well, who knows? I mean, unless we actually know where it's coming from. It's kind of weird it happened now, especially when they're talking about storming Area 51. And then there's a UFO sighting of an alien white UFO disc spotted flying through a eruption volcano in Papasili. That took place on August 19th at 8:15 a.m. They saw this disc fly out of a erupting volcano. What do you think of that one?
Well, I got to tell you something. You just reminded me of something. I seen a show it's on every week. I think it's on History Channel, but they have a coalition they have found between volcanoes, eruptions, and mass sightings of UFOs. And a lot of it's been down in Middle Americans and South America with activity of volcanoes. But yeah, I think there is some kind of connection there, definitely.
I find it interesting. I also want to do a shout out to Karen Banks, who's on our chat. Hey, Karen, I hope you had a great day, even if you couldn't see anything in the water you're in. That proves I read your posting on Facebook. No, it just makes me wonder about, what's going on with all these sightings. Normally around this time of year, the sightings drop off, but they're not dropping off.
Hey, that was a good question you just brought up. I wonder if there is an algorithm that we can look up somewhere. Somebody has had to have done it sometime where you can look up the time of the year when there's more sightings in a certain area. And that would be interesting.
Oh, it would be. It sure would. And then, the climate is making storms larger and more violent. And that is due because of the earth changes. And that's what I'm getting scared of. We're talking about, our president is talking about opening up some more land, for, whatever, to go out and look for oil and stuff like that, natural gas. And by doing that, we're going to even change the climate even more, because every time we do anything, it's changing it. Look at the rainforest is burning up, and they can't even figure out how to stop it. What's going to happen when that's gone? I mean, is it true? I've read a lot of things by 2050, we might be in one hell of a mix, of our life standards on this planet.
Well, let me give you this little stat. In 1973, there was 3.5 billion people on this earth. Today, there's 7 billion. So that we've doubled the population in roughly, 46 years? So you fast forward that to what you just said, you could probably double and a half of that number. And that all those amount of people, they consume products, and products need oil and gas to work, and that is a recipe for disaster. You just said it.
Oh, yeah. It's called also greed. But another thing, mass extinction event 2 billion years ago killed off 99% of all life on Earth. Just think of that, 2 billion years ago, which in time is really nothing. And it killed 99% of everything that was living on this planet.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you another scary thing. Some people don't even know this, but Yellowstone Park is a super volcano. and it's due to go off about every 500 to 600,000 years, and it's actually could go off at any time. And when that goes off, a lot of people